Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl in your face while you're sleeping. 10 most mysterious abandoned ships in the world. The most cunning and brave people in the world have found the best of themselves at sea. They overcome endless storms, gargantuan waves, unspeakable monsters, painful hunger, and nasty illnesses. Such experiences aren't only life-changing, but soul-toughening. While the sea lures many through curiosity and ambition, many others have just vanished. Such events have given ground for some of the most enduring mysteries of humanity. Some even say that sea monsters, sirens, ghosts, and all kinds of myths and legends are made around the inexplicable events that real sea people have found. Would you believe your eyes if you found an empty vessel, sailing on its own, in perfect conditions? As humans, we are bound to solve mysteries. Well, for today's countdown, you will meet some of the 10 most mysterious abandoned ships. You will learn about mysteries that not even the most competent investigators in the world, from Japan to the US, have managed to solve. Let's enter the choppy waters, be careful, and enjoy the ride. Number 10. The Carroll A. Deering. The Carroll A. Deering was a cargo ship. Its crew sailed successfully from Norfolk in the US to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. However, things went off track when captains changed in Rio after the original one got sick. At number 10, we brought you its strange story. The trip back to Virginia was awkward and didn't end well. According to a lightship keeper, a suspicious crewman reported that they lost their anchors while the rest of the crew seemed to be fooling around, acting as if they were angry about it. Or were they fighting? The next day, another ship spotted the Carroll A. Deering near Outer Banks, away from the regular course for its return to Norfolk. The day after, other sailors spotted the shipwreck. Yet the weather was too dangerous and kept the investigators away for 4 days. When they finally went aboard, they found food remains served as if they were getting ready for a meal. However, they didn't find the crew, their belongings, or the lifeboats. Everyone and everything vanished. After a federal investigation, efforts were fruitless, and the case remains unsolved today. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that will take just 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. Just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell and you get 25 years of amazing life. Try it. It really works. Number 9. Rio Unmaru. For number 9, we have a Japanese fishing boat with a lot of character. Some objects makes you feel like they are alive and have their very own will. Perhaps you're thinking now about your smartphone or your tablet. On the top extreme of the iron-willed things, we could put this persistent Japanese fishing boat, the Rio Unmaru. This ship was mooring in Aomori Prefecture when the 2011 Tohoku tsunami hit it. At first, the Japan Coast Guard believed the ship was destroyed and granted an exception for its owner, regarding the requirements for dismantling or disposal of every vessel according to Japanese law. However, in March 2012, a Canadian military aircraft spotted the Rio Unmaru in Alaska. Unfortunately for this tough guy, the US Coast Guard determined that it was necessary to sink the boat to prevent it from running aground or becoming a hazard for other ships. So with a noisy sayonara, the Rio Unmaru was fired upon and sank in the Gulf of Alaska. Number 8. HMS Resolute. At number 8, we have a very peculiar ship. You might have heard that you never know where you will end up when you explore the 7 seas. Well, sometimes you could even land in the Oval Office of the White House. That was the case for the HMS Resolute, or more specifically its timbers, which were used to make the desk of the US President since 1880. Initially, the ship was part of the British Royal Navy fleet and was abandoned in 1854 after being trapped by ice in Viscount Merville Sound, Canada. It was on a search expedition to find John Franklin, a British explorer who had been lost in the Arctic. After being abandoned, the ship drifted for 1 year and 1,200 miles until it was found at Baffin Island, Canada. After its finding, in 1856, the U.S. Congress decided to buy and restore the ship to return to the United Kingdom as a token of friendship between two nations. In 1879, the British government ordered a few desks to be made from the ship's timbers. The most notorious one was presented to U.S. President Rutherford B. Hayes in 1880 as a gesture of gratitude for the Resolute's rescue and return. Number 7. Jiansang. Sometimes, There are so many questions about our mystery that it looks like a puzzle impossible to solve. For number 7, we have this kind of riddle, the ginseng. There is almost no context, history, or formal records of this abandoned tanker of 80 meters in length, found by Australian authorities in the Gulf of Carpentaria in 2006. The ginseng only had a large rice container inside, with no signs of any recent human activity, documentations, or any evidence that the ship was used for illegal activities. The investigators did not find any information about its port of registry or nationality, which remains unknown. Nobody can explain why or how there were no reports of people interested in claiming the ship. Number 6. Tinmouth Electron. At number 6, a mighty name for an extraordinary ship. The Tinmouth Electron was a nice 41-foot trimaran used by British businessman Donald Crowhurst for the Sunday Times 1968 Golden Globe single-handed yacht race worldwide. After Crowhurst set sail and left England on October 31, 1968, the ship was found alone, 252 days later, in Jamaica. After some research, the investigators identified some clues without any conclusive evidence. The captain reported the journey in great detail in his log. The investigators encountered stories about the trip, forged coordinates, Crowhurst's thoughts, and some evidence of a mental breakdown, which led the authorities to think that the captain took his life. Number 5. The SS Valencia. For number 5, we have the SS Valencia, a story with a tragic paradox. In 1906, after collision with a reef on the coast of Canada, the SS Valencia's crew abandoned the ship after they accidentally released almost all lifeboats. The mistake left 136 passengers and other members of the crew to their luck. After the accident, only 37 men survived on the remaining lifeboats. Surprisingly, more than 25 years after the tragedy, Valencia's lifeboat number 5 was found in excellent condition, floating close to Berkeley Sound. A heartbreaking paradox, don't you think? Number 4. SV Kaz 2. At number 4, we have a relatively small ship that took a brief trip on its own. In 2007, a catamaran named SV Kaz 2 was found drifting 88 nautical miles off Australia's coast from where it departed 5 days earlier with a 3-man crew on board. When the boat was found, it just had some damage to one of its sails while the rest of the ship was perfect. The authorities never found the 3 men. However, they assumed that they may have accidentally lost their way while trying to entangle a fishing lure caught in the boat's rudder. The rest might just be the work of the treasonous water of the Australian Sea. Number 3. MV Joyita. At the 3rd spot, we brought you a jewel of the seas, the MV Joyita. Joyita is a Spanish word that means little jewel, and we can say that it was a very dangerous one in this case. Originally designed and built as a luxury yacht in 1931 for movie director Roland West, the U.S. Navy bought it to serve in World War II. In 1948, it was returned to private operation as a merchant's vessel after suffering critical modifications during the war to fit for logistical purposes. On November 10, 1955, the MV Joyita was found empty, with no trace of the crew, no trace of the 25 passengers on board, no life rafts, no captain's logs, no navigational equipment, and no firearms. Afterward, an investigation concluded that the crew and passengers' disappearance to be, quote, inexplicable on the evidence submitted at the inquiry. Now it's time for today's best pick. Another impossible mystery to tackle. Today's best pick shows the image of an old ship at the top of an island. Many have commented that someone manipulated the picture, while others argue how a real ship could have ended there. The islands around the ship create a very tough sailing challenge, even for the most seasoned captain. Moreover, although we have seen tornadoes moving buildings, cars, and large vehicles, we aren't sure that any storm or hurricane can carry an entire ship like that. Most of the time, it would tear apart any boat, especially a wood one. In any case, this mysterious ship is still a riddle, left to be solved. Number 1. SV Mary Celeste. The first position is for one of the most well-known and researched mysteries of the sea. An American merchant brigantine named Mary Celeste was found on December 4th in 1872, with damaged and missing sails, heading toward the Strait of Gibraltar, with no trace of the crew, plenty of provisions, and in seaworthy condition. Until now, nobody had found any remains of the crew or logical explanation for their disappearance. The British brigantine crew, the Dea Gratia, were the discoveries of the mysteriously abandoned ship. They found that the last entry in the ship's daily log was written on November 24th, 10 days before the ship was found. The ship's final recorded position was close to St. Mary Island at the Azores, 400 nautical miles away from the place the Dea Gratia found it. After a close examination, the Mary Celeste crew's smoking pipes were found, but the single lifeboat was missing. Although the captain of the Dea Gratia, David Morehouse, asserted that Mary Celeste's captain may have ordered the crew to abandon ship after panicking over some minor damages to the ship. However, further investigation showed that Captain Benjamin Briggs was a very competent and seasoned sailor. He could have correctly understood the kind of injuries suffered by the ship and managed its repairs without so much trouble. Now, neither you, nor I, nor any sane sailor would sail the Mary Celeste after that. Still, the courageous and ambitious Captain Morehouse led the ship's rescue with half the Dea Gratia's crew, enduring severe hardships and collecting a good reward for the ship at Gibraltar, 600 nautical miles further. Afterward, the vessel was operated for 13 more years, until it slammed into Rochelet Reef next to Haiti, where it was wrecked. After an intriguing trip, we returned to a safe coast. It was very nice to have you aboard. Come back to sail with us so you can watch more amazing videos.